This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Welcome into the FNIA podcast, served by Applebee's. You know, the Hall of Famer, Coach Dungy in the middle. Hall of Fame semifinalist, soon to be Hall of Famer. I can just picture in his future. And Rodney Harris on the other side of the screen. Guys, let's talk about the Bengals, the Cowboys, Monday Night Football. It's one of those, Bengals in a point now where it is a long shot to make the playoffs, but still a possibility. Coach, I'll start with you watching the Monday Night Football. What was the top of mind for you watching this go down?
To me, it was the Dallas Cowboys. They played a better game, got some things going. You block a punt where you should put yourself in position to win the game, and you basically give it away. I can't imagine the emotion down there in Dallas, Rod.
Yeah, Coach, and I'll be honest, I didn't watch the game last night. I had a 3:45 pickup, so I was exhausted. I did not watch the game, but I would just say this. Any questions about Mike McCarthy should go away. I think he should be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys in the future. I think he's done a really good job of just keeping these guys focused despite all the injuries, all the adversity, everything that's going on, having to deal with the ownership. I think he's done a solid job despite everything that's been going on there.
Well, I agree with you. 12-5 the last 2 years. You have your quarterback gets hurt, bunch of injuries, secondary's injured. You're not having the kind of year you want, but these guys were fighting. He hasn't lost the locker room. They're still continuing to play. To me, you get rid of a coach who's been to Super Bowls, who's taking you to the playoffs. I think it would be a mistake.
Absolutely,
Wow.
Coach. And then just talking to a few guys about Mike McCarthy, they said they love the way he treats them. He respects them. He treats them like pros, and he's a good football coach. And it's not his fault that the defense struggled, that the defense can't stop the run. They got to do a better job on the defensive side, getting some football players in there. I think he's done a heck of a job with Dak Prescott and his offense.
So that would then mean a contract extension, because that's not as simple as just bringing him back because his contract's up. That would mean extending him out, and both of you are nodding your head. So that means that's the move, Rod. That's the way you view it, extended.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't bring him back for 1 year. And if I know Mike McCarthy wouldn't come back for 1 year, there has to be a multi-year deal saying, hey, we believe in you these next 3 years. We're going to invest in you. We believe in you. And we know that you're the right guy for us.
Amen. Do that. I don't know why you didn't do it last year. You went to the playoffs 2 years in a row. You won 12 games. As you say, everybody in that locker room is behind him. I don't understand letting it get to that point in the first place.
There you go. All right. And then we have agreement there in Dallas. Let's keep it in the division. Let's look at Philly, where there is plenty of drama going down. I want to start with some sound. Let's listen into Brandon Graham, because we had a little conversation after the game, and it was a win for Philly, but A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, it sounded more like a loss listening to those two in the locker room post-game. So let's hear from Brandon Graham, who's now commenting on that drama.
The person that's complaining need to be accountable. And I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he know this. I don't know the whole story, but I know that one is trying. And 11 could be a little better with how he respond to things. And they was friends before this. It's like, man, but things have changed. And I understand that because life happens. But it's the business side that we have to make sure that we don't let the personal get in the way of the business, and that's what we got to do better as right now, because we know it's an issue. Everybody's seeing some things, but we need to be able to talk things out as men. You know what I'm saying? But we need to let personal stuff go and let's get right for this game, because, man, it's like a lot of stuff. Most of the time, it's just a conversation that just need to be had. But the person with the problem gotta want to talk to the person other than others. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Rod, I see a nod in your head. Go ahead.
Yeah, and actually he's spot on with what he said, but the problem is you don't take it to the media. What's going on outside of that locker room, you can't, what's going on inside the locker room, you can't take it outside the locker room and share it with people that aren't a part of that locker room. And he was speaking a lot of truth, and you don't supposed to do certain things. But the number one thing I would say, he's a 15-year veteran. And Coach Belichick would always tell us, don't speak on other people, always speak for yourself. And that's the thing. And this is the thing, Coach, that they've been so good at since overcoming the initial part of the early part of the season, some of the things they had going on is avoiding distractions and being together as a team, not worried about individual accolades. So this is something that it's a lot more serious than what people think.
Yeah, and I would just pay attention to the very last thing he said in that statement. If you have a problem, take it to the person. Don't take it to everybody else. Just take it to Jalen Hurts and get it squared away, and you get this done behind the scenes, and nobody has to know about it.
Yeah. It's interesting because we just had A.J. Brown on our show. And so we just talked to him, a couple of weeks ago. And he said something. Rod asked him a question about not maybe getting as many passes. And he was accepting of that, right? If I get 3 targets a game, I got to make sure that these are catch and runs and I'm doing the most with these opportunities. And it just seems like in a period of a couple of weeks, there's been a little bit of a shift. And all of a sudden there's a frustration with maybe not getting that many targets. So I just wonder if he was trying to give us the good side and then the bad side came out. Or Rodney, what do you think transpired in between these 2 weeks here?
I think he gave us the good side, and then the bad side came out this past week. But he's frustrated, man, because he knows that he's an all-pro wide receiver. He know he can put up 1,500 yards, and he can put up 80, 90 catches, but he's not getting those opportunities. And he's frustrated with Jalen Hurts. And, Coach, we've seen Jalen hold the ball. At times he feels like he's afraid to pull the trigger on those deep outs and things like that. And I understand his frustration, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is winning football games. And like he told us, it doesn't matter if he has 3 opportunities, he's got to try to turn that into 3 touchdowns. And so I understand the frustration, but he needs to keep everything in-house, Coach.
Yeah, and I've seen this with receivers, and I've had them come into my office before like this. Hey, we just played a game, Coach. I was running these routes. I'm killing this guy. I didn't get the ball. And you say, okay, we understand that. We didn't need it today. We won the game. There's going to be a time when we need it. Make sure you're ready to go. So if you say that to me in my office, there's no problem at all. But when you say it out in the media, our passing game sucks and we just didn't get the job done today, and I'm moping around like this, even though we won our 9th game in a row, that's the way people are going to take it. And now, as you say, Rod, you've created a distraction that doesn't need to be there.
Coach, I didn't like everyone I played with. I'm sure you didn't just love every single person you played with or coach with, but you got to understand, man, it's business. So take the personal side out of it, all those feelings and stuff like that, and understand that, hey, we're coming here. We have an opportunity to go far in the playoffs, possibly win a Super Bowl. We have an unbelievable roster. We got some young guys really playing well. The last thing as a leader, supposedly leader on this team, that I want to do is become a distraction. So it's up to the head coach to get these guys back focused and give them a little perspective, Coach.
And I'm laughing because I can go back 45 years. I played with 2 guys who were great receivers, Lynn Swann and John Stallworth. And it was a different game back then. We were running Franco Harris, we're pounding the ball, and Stallworth would catch 38 balls in the season, and Swan would catch 45. And
wow.
We're winning. So we'd sit in the sauna after games, and they'd say, man, I had 2 catches. I know I could kill this guy. And it's talk in the sauna, and they're frustrated. But they never went to the media and said, oh, I didn't get enough balls today. And you know what? They got 4 Super Bowl rings, and both of them are in the Hall of Fame. And that's what it's all about.
And Coach, to your point, and we always talked about it in our locker room. We said, guys, it's not about you. I used to walk. It's not about you. It's about the team. And at the end of the day, if you don't understand that, if you're trying to put yourself in front of the team, then we're going to have a lot of problems. So you are spot on with that. Absolutely.
With all that being said, I do think Philadelphia could benefit from getting A.J. Brown the ball a little bit more.
No question. And there's going to be some time when they have to do that. But
yeah.
We're on a 9-game winning streak, and we're trying to catch Detroit for the number 1 seed. We are winning. We're playing good ball. And for the first half of the season, Rodney and I are sitting there saying, why don't they run the ball more? Why don't they give it to Saquon? Well, they started doing that, and they're winning, and nobody can stop them.
Right.
Be happy.
You're
And
right.
you know what, Coach, you're spot on, Coach, because that was the thing that turned the season around, was making Saquon Barkley the focal point of the offense, but also avoiding the distractions. And that's the biggest thing. It's the distractions. And when you're winning, you're having success, then those things come into play. Hey, man, you're not getting the ball enough. And then you start hearing that and you start looking and see, man, this wide receiver, he had 10 catches. Jamar Chase, look at him. Yeah, Jamar Chase in December and January, he'll be at home watching the playoffs while you're playing. So it's not about the numbers. So don't, and let me tell you this, Coach, we all know when you win, if you lose and have 3 catches, it's completely different than when you're winning and you have 3 catches because everybody looks better.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting, though, when he said the thing about that they were friends coming into this. It made it sound like that there was a shift in that. Now, Brandon Graham did try to backtrack and go, I shouldn't have said this. Now that he's hurt, he shouldn't be getting involved in this. But we'll see how it plays out. And this life of the NFL, a week can change a lot. And so by Sunday, all of this could be solved, or maybe it gets bigger. I mean, you just never know. But we'll see how all that plays out. But AJ could still have a 1,000-yard season easily. He could have 6, 7 touchdowns. It's not like he's having a bad year by the numbers as it goes.
And guys, if you're Kellen Moore, just simply start him off, give him some jet sweeps where he can run the football, give him a couple wide receiver screens, a couple quick slants, an out route. Just get him involved, and you'll see a shift in his personality, his attitude. He'll be a lot more positive, and he'll be a lot more encouraging. But just get him the ball, Kellen Moore.
Yeah. And I will say this, there is not one person in America that doesn't think A.J. Brown is a tremendous receiver. It's not, nobody's saying, oh, well, he's not getting open, he's not balling out, he's falling off. He's not.
True.
We know what A.J. Brown is. Relax, go out there, keep winning games, and that's what can get your team the number 1 seed.
That's right.
Amen to that. Let's get to who is eating good in the neighborhood, and it is served by Applebee's. And why not the Pittsburgh Steelers? And the Steelers, they go back and they beat the Cleveland Browns this go around 27-14. Coach Dungy, this is a team that you said, even in the wins, it's time for Russell Wilson. They went to Russell Wilson, and they've just been winning more, and they've been winning bigger.
Well, I remember that they were 4-2, but it was a different style and things weren't clicking, especially on offense. And you had some receivers in that period of time thinking, gosh, we can contribute a little more. Well, they put Russell in. It's helped everything. They're throwing the ball better. It's helped the running game because now people have to defend the pass and to defend the whole field. They've won 6 out of 7. They're averaging over 400 yards a game. And it's just been great offense, something Pittsburgh hasn't had since Ben Roethlisberger's heyday, Rodney.
Yeah, you talk about what they didn't have. Like, you think about Matt Canada and remember all the complaints and all the bad, inconsistent play calling. Got to give props to Arthur Smith. I mean, just him coming in, having a game plan ready for Justin Fields, but then all of a sudden shifting and being able to have a different game plan for Russell Wilson, 2 different quarterbacks. So he doesn't get enough credit for the job that he's come in and done. I mean, this is 1 year coaching. All last year, the year before, all we did was complain about this dude, Matt Canada, and like, what the heck is he calling? He won't run the football. He's not doing this enough. But Arthur Smith has come in, and he's worked with 2 different quarterbacks, some guys missing in the starting lineup. I think he's been terrific.
He really has. He's called great games for both quarterbacks. All the talk last year, and we said, oh, this offensive line isn't very good. Well, now things get spread out. Offensive line, I don't know if they've changed, if they've gotten better, but Najee Harris is getting open spaces. Jaylen Warren's getting open spaces. The receivers are getting open, and all of a sudden, nobody's talking about the offensive line.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great point. Hey, let's look at both the quarterbacks, though, because we've seen now the Pittsburgh Steelers with either of them, with Justin Fields, with Russell Wilson. The amazing thing is both have resulted in wins, 4-2, 6-1. Look at the yards per game, though. That's way up with Wilson. Look at the points. That's way up with Wilson. So, Coach Dungy, that's what you were pointing to.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Justin Fields was playing good football for them. He was making some dynamic plays. They were winning. But I think Mike Tomlin envisioned this. He saw some receivers who could be playmakers. And he saw people crowding the line of scrimmage and tightening down against that running game. And now that they're a balanced unit, they're really, really tough to stop.
Yeah, that offense is a lot more explosive. And you think about Russell Wilson, just the leadership, the experience. He's a Super Bowl champion. So when he walks in the huddle, he has that instant respect from all those players. And they trust and believe in him because, as we've seen, he has a beautiful pass the way he throws it down the field. And he's done a good job of spreading it around, Coach. So it's not like you're on that team and you're like, oh, Russell's not looking at me. He's throwing really to the open guy. So yeah, he's been tremendous, Jack. Absolutely.
And you and I, to your point, we're sitting in the truck last week listening to the post-game interview, and Pat Fryermuth comes on and says, you know what? Everybody's excited now because if I get open, I'm going to get the ball. And we've got a lot of playmakers, and we don't care who gets the stats this week.
Bingo.
We don't care because we know, hey, they take away George Pickens, we're going to go to someone else who can make plays. They take away the wide receivers, we're going to come to the tight ends. If they play nickel defense, we're going to run the ball. It doesn't matter. We just want to win, and that's what they're doing.
And you got to give credit to Mike Tomlin for instilling that in the culture, saying, hey, guys, it's about the team. We celebrate each other's success. And that's something that when I was down there, they said to me several times, hey, man, this is a team defense. And when something happens positive, we're celebrating each other's success. That's what makes us a close-knit group.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's take Russ because Denver was done with Russ, right? They're ready to let him go. They're sick of looking at this contract. Sean Payton wants to draft a quarterback and the whole thing. And Mike Tomlin goes, come on in. So let's take Russ now with some of the best quarterbacks around the NFL and look at what his numbers and how they stack up. With Goff, with Josh Allen, with Sam Darnold. Look at the points per game over there on the right side of the screen. He is right there in the thick of it, just behind Allen and Goff. Look at the yards per game. He is above everybody except for Goff. And then, of course, the record to go right there along with it, Rod.
And, Jack, he's the only Super Bowl champion that we're talking about, okay?
Yep.
He's the only – now, Jared Goff, he's been to the Super Bowl, got beat. Josh Allen's never been to the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold has never been to the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson, once again, with that experience, that knowledge and wisdom, he's done it for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Coach.
Yeah, Russell had that calf injury to start the year, so he didn't play. But had he played the whole season and put up numbers like this, we'd be talking about him. Right now, everybody, I think Josh Allen's probably the favorite. Goff has put up some tremendous numbers. Darnold is kind of in the background, even though he's putting up great numbers. But Russell Wilson, those are MVP-type numbers if he had played the whole year. So we'll see what's going to happen down the stretch. Now, he's going to have a great defense to go against this week in Philadelphia. But you put up some of those type of numbers and win that game, we'd have to start talking about, man, what has this guy done? And as you say, Jack, 6 months ago, no one wanted him.
But you also feel more confident with him as the quarterback as opposed to a Justin Fields going against that defense, because that defense creates a lot of pressure. They turn the ball over. They get after you. So to have a guy as composed as a Russell Wilson. And, Coach, when we're out there, when we're seeing him warm up, just the calm, cool demeanor. That's Russell Wilson, man. Just really proud of everything. And the only thing that I think about is Sean Payton yelling and screaming and belittling that man. And I tell you, Coach, it took – I was actually questioning, like, why didn't he go off on him? But I actually was really proud of him, the way he just kept his cool and showed the level of respect. And Sean Payton was absolutely out of line. But to see him bounce back and see Mike Tomlin come in and embrace him and hug him and give him a kiss on the head and say, hey, man, I got your back. That's what it's about. And that's what coaching is about. And you do the same thing, Coach.
Amen. Amen. I couldn't agree with you more.
Steelers are going to be a hard out. That's what I just keep thinking. Like, this is going to be a hard team to beat when you get into playoffs. And everything's going to come down to who can go into Kansas City most likely and beat the Chiefs, right? Who could go in there and beat them? And they could be a tough matchup for Kansas City. You know, we just this past Sunday, you're looking at that left tackle position, and it's the third left tackle we see, and they keep putting guys in there. And now they might be back to Wanya Morris at left tackle. So it may even take a step backward for Kansas City with the little injury to Humphreys late in that game. They could be a team that Kansas City would go, how the heck do we block the Pittsburgh Steelers, Coach?
We sat there and we saw how many times Patrick Mahomes got hit against the Chargers. Okay, and Mahomes played outstanding football and let him know. But now you put T.J. Watt and Highsmith out there. How many times are they going to hit Patrick Mahomes, Rod?
And it's not just those two, Herbig, Preston Smith. They got 4 guys they can rotate. Actually, if they're
Cam
smart at
Hayward.
times, Cam Hayward, they can bring all 4 or 5 of those guys in and just put pass rushers in. It's so many different things they can do from the defensive side of the standpoint. Their secondary has played solid, and I'm a big fan of Deshaun Elliott.
Yeah, and now they can score points too. I mean, we've seen that they can score points on offense.
Yes.
Let's look at the NFC North. A lot of people thought maybe the AFC North would be the best division of football this year. It's been the NFC North. Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay. They're 28-3, a 28-3 record against outside division opponents this season. That is ridiculous. 0 losses since October. Coach Dungy, it has been about the North as you look around the NFL. It's been the best division this year.
It really has. And, the Lions have gotten a lot of the publicity, and they've been great. They play dynamic football. But I think Minnesota and Green Bay have been under the radar. We're not, I don't know that they're that good. Well, they are that good. and those quarterbacks are playing well for them. Defensively, they're swarming. And this is going to be a dogfight right down to the wire.
Hey, Coach, I got to ask you, what quarterback out of this division do you trust the most?
Well, right now, I'd have to say Jared Goff because he's done it. He has taken the team on a playoff run and taken them to the Super Bowl. I think Love has tremendous potential. He played a great game against Dallas last year. But again, I want to see him do it in crunch time. Sam Darnold has just kind of come out of nowhere. And Sam Darnold is playing, I don't know what's in the water in Minnesota where quarterbacks go up there and they ball out no matter who they are. He's playing like a Hall of Famer. Can he do it now in the big moments, though, in crunch time? That's what remains to be seen.
Yeah, Coach, I definitely agree with you with Jared Goff because he's got so many good players around him. He doesn't have to be great all the time. Really, and they've really done a good job of just giving him everything he needs. Big offensive line, 2 running backs. They got wide receivers. They can catch it short, intermediate, deep. They got everything you need. The big question to me is, can that defense hold up? I know they can score points, but can that defense and will that defense be able to hold up, Jack?
Yeah. I think all 3 of those teams are capable of going on a run. I'd say we kind of waited for Minnesota. Is real life going to come into the picture at some point? And they're going to drift, but it hasn't. It's like Sam Darnold's just gotten better and better, and that defense has given some of the best offenses headaches throughout the course of the season. So they can do that again in the playoffs. Who the heck knows? They could get rolling over there in the NFC.
And also, Coach, I'm looking at Jordan Love. When you watch film on him, are you watching the same thing I'm watching? Why can't this kid drop back and just throw a simple pass as opposed to jumping off one leg, falling back, throwing it across his body? It's like every throw that he makes has to be this spectacular throw. And it's like, why can't he just make some of the simple throws? Because he's been around Aaron Rodgers so much, saying all that crazy stuff.
That's it. 3 years sitting there watching Aaron, and okay, I can do this too. And at some point, he's going to realize he doesn't have to do that. He's got enough playmakers. He can just get him the ball.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some of these big games coming up. So we are now into week 15, as crazy as that is to say. And I think it's going to start with Thursday Night Football. And you have the Rams and the 49ers. Ton of playoff implications in that game right there. Bills, Lions, Bucks, Chargers, Steelers, Eagles, the battle for Pennsylvania. And then Sunday Night Football is a great one too. Packers and the Seattle Seahawks. Let's start with Rams, 49ers, Coach. The Rams are starting to heat it up.
They are. And I thought last week they would give Buffalo all kinds of problems because of Sean McVay, and they did. But I'll tell you this, I think San Francisco is going to give them all types of problems. Just a division rivalry, short week. You've got to go on the road. They know how to play each other. And that kind of West Coast rivalry, too. This is going to be a big game.
Yeah, Coach, I agree with you. I like the 49ers. And I think the big question is the Rams' maturity. Can they turn around after beating a Buffalo team? And I know they were really excited, almost felt like it was a playoff win. Can they turn around and put enough energy into the San Francisco game? And that's going to be something that I'm definitely watching, but I do like the 49ers here.
And the other thing about the 49ers, and you've been calling for it all year, I think they got to desperation mode last week, and they had some guys injured, and they went to George Kittle. And I think that's going to help them realizing he's our best weapon right now. We got to figure out ways to get him the ball.
Yep. All right, let's move it down to the Sunday night football game then. So we got Packers and the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, we've just been kind of watching all year, and they've just continued to win and find ways to win. They ran the football so well a week ago, even without Walker in the lineup. Kenneth Walker was banged up, and they still ran the ball so well. First thing on your mind, Rodney, thinking about this Sunday night matchup?
Thinking about the Seattle Seahawks defense and the improvement that they've made. Leonard Williams, he's been outstanding for them. But also I look at their secondary, and I'm not saying that this is the best secondary in the league, but when you start looking at individual players, I would say this is probably the most talented secondary that I've seen, with Witherspoon and Kobe Bryant, Julian Love. Those guys back there, they can play. They're getting pressure from the front. And Ernest Jones has been really solid, coach, at the linebacker position.
Seattle is playing with much more balance, as Jack pointed out. They're running the ball better this second half of the year. They're swarming on defense. I think the key is going to be that secondary coming up with some turnovers and some takeaways. Jordan Love is tremendous. He takes some chances with the ball.
Yes.
And Seattle's got some ball hawkers back there. If they can create some turnovers, that's going to be the key, in my opinion.
I like it. I'm looking forward to this one. Both these teams are right. I feel like they're right on that cusp. There are two teams in the NFC where it's like, can you really trust them? Trust them. Seattle keeps kind of proving hanging around. We saw Green Bay make that run last year in the NFC. So now people have a little more belief in the Green Bay Packers. There's only one way to find out. We got to put that thing on a tee and go figure it out on the West Coast. I'll see you guys in Seattle. Football Night in America, 7 p.m. on NBC and Peacock. Always a pleasure. Coach Dungy, Rodney, and Harrison. Appreciate you guys.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.